Hey guys, Metagross Freak here, and today I wanted to look at a League of Legends item known as Atma's Impaler to see if it's still viable in-game. Uh, Atma's Impaler has the unique ability, it has other stats too, but it has the unique ability of giving you attack damage equal to 1.5% of your maximum health. Now I figured the most amount of health you can possibly have is 1,000 health on a Warmogs, which, if you have 5 of them, will give you, of course, 5,000 health. In order to figure out, obviously you can look at the stuff on the right. In order to figure this out, though, I took 3 champions, I figured out their maximum healths if they had 5 Warmogs and an Atmas, I figured out, of course, how much what their maximum health would be, how much healing they would have thanks to their Warmog's passive, and not only how much AD they would gain as part of Atma's unique passive, but roughly how many best friend swords that would be equal to see if you're really getting your money's worth. In case you're wondering why I picked these 3 champions, Lux has the lowest base HP in the game, Gangplank has the highest base HP in the game, and Sion gains the most HP every time he levels up. Now, Sion also has the ability to gain additional HP because of his Enrage ability. However, I'm ignoring that mainly because there's no definite cap, and because that in itself is its own can of worms, because I'd have to figure out, how much HP and attack damage he'd gain depending on how much Enrage he has. So this is just using their HP they gain from leveling up, and the 5 Warmogs with an Atma set. Lux starts off with a measly 345 HP, gaining 79 HP per level, giving her at level 18 almost 1690. Gangplank has almost 900 HP, gaining 81 per level, reaching a little over 1870. Sion has just over 400 HP and gains a little over 100 HP per level, and he barely scrapes past 2170. Now, not even counting at items, you can definitely see there's a good difference between Lux and Sion, being about a 500 HP difference. However, between Gangplank and Sion, it's roughly 300 HP. To be exact, it's 299, which, depending on what you build, can mean the difference between like 1 or 2 auto attacks. Now let's look at the items. With the exact same sets, they're actually not as different as they appear on the left. Lux has 6,688 HP, Gangplank has 6,872, and Sion has 7,171. Obviously, there is still a difference between Lux and Sion. However, in the long run, it's not that big of a difference. At full build, 500 HP really doesn't make that big of a difference. That's really only like 1 or 2 spells, and the roughly 300 difference, again, between Gangplank and Sion doesn't really make that difference in the long run, because you have you have nearly 7,000 HP no matter who you're playing as. Because of the large amount of health you have, and gaining 1% health regeneration because of the unique passive of one of your Warmogs, they each heal 68.88 HP per 5 seconds, 68.72, and 71.71. In terms of healing, this is not a very big difference. Over the course of an entire game, this can make up for a lot. This can be a lot of healing. However, in just normal battle, the differences of roughly getting 5 more HP per 5 seconds isn't really going to make that much of a difference between Lux and Sion. Here's what it comes down to, though. Taking their maximum HP in consideration, I found 1.5% of that HP to find how much AD they would gain. Taking these ADs that they would gain, I then divided it by 50 attack damage, the amount of attack damage in a best friend sword, to determine roughly how many best friend swords that was worth. Lux gains a little over 100 attack damage, roughly equivalent to just over 2 best friend swords. Gangplank gains 103, again just over 2 best friend swords, and Scion only gains 107 attack damage. Now, even if you round it up to 108 attack damage, that's still just over 2.57 best friend swords. So, in the long run, even if you max out the amount of HP you can have, the differences between Lux, who has the lowest HP in the game, and Gangplank and Scion, who can get massive amounts of HP, well, I mean, mostly Scion, because he can get a massive amount of HP, and Gangplank, who just starts out with a massive amount, there's really not all that difference. In auto attacks alone, you're dealing roughly only 7 more damage with Scion than you are with Lux. Now, obviously, I realize that Lux will probably be building ability power, and so this item, having an item set like this would make no sense on her. And with Scion's Enrage, you're obviously going to be stacking far more ability attack damage, so your attack damage is going to be going up even higher because your HP could be considered limitless. Also, Gangplank is going to be building a lot more crit damage, so in the long run, the only one who this item having 5 Warmogs and an Atma's set really makes sense on is Scion, but I still want to show you guys that just because it seems like a great idea on Scion doesn't mean that doesn't mean that it's special just to him. Compared to Lux and Gangplank, there's really not that big of a difference, and the only reason the 5 Warmogs and Atma set even really works on Scion is because of his Enrage. So would I say that Atma's is a worthwhile weapon? Well, I don't know. I mean, if you like being able to never die, because you keep in mind also Scion will have no resistances. I think Atma's gives a little bit of armor, but I'm not even sure about that. So keep in mind, with an item set like this, Scion would have no additional defenses. He would just have crazy amounts of HP, and not even really do that much damage based on his auto attacks. So keep this in mind the next time you're looking through the Champion store, because maybe you might learn something about an item that you never learned before. Until next time, I'm Metagross Freak, and thanks for watching.